Hi, I'm Willika, and today I'm going to show you how to do machine embroidery and cut your Cricut applique. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm taking a PES file and I am opening it up in a program called Inkscape. So it's asking me if I want to import it as an SVG, and I'm just saying okay. So now that I have it in my Inkscape file, I'm just going to take a look at the layers and see what all I have. So I have my embroidery layers, as well as the tack down stitches is usually how appliques are programmed. So I'm just taking a look here and seeing what all the different pieces are that I'm working with. Now my machine has a max size of 5x7 for my hoop. So I'm actually going to take the second ma out of the mama and I'm going to delete them. I need to ungroup first. Ungroup, and I'm just going to delete the second ma because I have to do this in two separate parts anyways because of the limitations of my machine. So now that I have the part that I want to use for my applique, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking, making a copy in a second Inkscape file. I'm going to take out the embroidery settings to save it as an SVG so that I'll be able to cut the pieces on my Cricut and do the embroidery on my embroidery machine. So here I'm just deleting all of these trim commands because my machine doesn't listen to those anyway, so I thought just to make it less cluttered, I just delete them. So here I'm just hiding I was just hiding the embroidery part. So the A embroidery, I just put the little I to hide it. I didn't delete it, I'm just hiding it because I just want to copy the tack down stitch. I'm just selecting the both parts of the A and I will copy them. And I'll go to my second Inkstitch file, how I'm pasting them. And in my Inkscape, I have an extension called Inkstitch, which you need to have installed in order to be able to do this. So here I have my A coming through, and I will make it darker in just a minute. I'm just deleting out that extra piece. And I'm being very careful that I'm not resizing anything at all. So now I'm going to the Inkstitch extension, and I'm going to go down to Troubleshoot. And then I'm going to go remove all parameters. So that will remove all of the embroidery stuff. And I'm telling it to remove the params and to remove the commands. And then press OK. And then it tells me that it has removed all the embroidery. So now this is just an SVG. However, in order for the Cricut to be able to recognize it, I have to go find my fill and stroke menu. I'm just looking for it here. It's not quite where it usually is, I made my screen a bit smaller. Let's see if I can find it. And there it is. Alright, so with the fill and the stroke, right now it's only a stroke, so I want to turn the fill on so that we can see it. There it is. And you can either use the exclusion feature in Inkscape, or you can use it on Cricut Design Space to take the middle of the A out of there. So here I have the A. Select both parts of the A and then go to path exclusion. I didn't quite have them selected right, so I'll try that one more time. So both parts of the A selected, path exclusion, and that will make it so that I have a hole in the middle of the A. You don't have to do that for the M because it doesn't have the two parts. It's just one line, one cut. So I'm doing the same thing now with the M. So I just hid the embroidery layer. Now I'm copying the tack down layer. I'm going to move it into my SVG file. So pasting it in. And I'm going to do the same thing as before. I'm going to find my fill and stroke. I'm going to turn on the fill. And oh yes, I also have to remove my parameters. So I'm just removing the parameters, go troubleshoot, remove embroidery parameters, and then hit apply. And then it's just going to pop up saying that it's removed all of my embroidery settings. Okay, so now into the fill and stroke, I'm going to turn on the fill so we can see it. And turn off the stroke. And for the M, I also had to go path object to path and then path union to have it show up on my Cricut design space. So now I'm going to save it. So this one is the one that doesn't have any embroidery file. So I'm going to save this one as my mama, and I'm going to call it the SVG. And I'm going to save it as an Inkscape SVG is fine. I'm just saving it on my desktop. So that one's going to get uploaded to Design Space. Now back on my embroidery file, I'm going to make sure that all my embroidery layers are showing. And then I'm going to save that one as well. And this time I'm going to save it as a PES. So I'm saving as a PES because that's the file type that my particular machine likes to use. So I'm going to label this one Mama PES. So that's the one that I'm going to put onto my USB stick and transfer over to my embroidery machine. So now that I have both of my files, I'm going to head to Design Space, open up a new project. At the bottom there, I'm going to hit Upload. I'm going to upload an image. Now I saved them on the desktop, so I'm just finding the file on the desktop to upload. So make sure you take the SVG file, and there you can see there's the SVG. And I'm just going to add a tag of embroidery so that when I'm looking for it, I can find it easily. And I'm going to add that to my canvas. Now, for some reason, the sizing is just off just ever so slightly. So I'm just going to ungroup these letters, and I'm just checking the size in my original document, and then going back to the design space, and I'm just comparing and making sure that the sizes are the same, and they were off by like a couple tenths or hundredths. So I just adjusted them just because I don't want them to be too small or too big on my machine. I'm just resizing the M here. And like I said, they're very close in size, but just not quite. But I want them to be as perfect as can be. So now I got my onesie and my sweater, or whatever fabrics you want to use for your applique. I apply Heat and Bond Light to the back side. Then I like to use tape just because my mat's kind of old and not as sticky, so I just tape it down, cut it on the Cricut. Then I hoop my sweater. I put a piece of cutaway stabilizer on the back. I have a little mark for my middle, so I'm just lining up my design with my middle mark, because remember I'm doing this in two parts because of my machine size. And there you can see the tack down stitches. I'm lining up and using my Cricut Mini Easy Press to apply my applique. So I normally in applique with the machine embroidery, you don't iron down until after, but with this method, you iron it down before you do your stitching. So iron it down, then you stitch out your design, and this one takes about 10 minutes or so to stitch for each ma, and then there I have my final sweater. Well, thanks for joining us.